Okay, here we go, everyone. Bear with me and we'll start up. Give me 1 second. All right, let's get the party started. Sorry, it's always going to be the case. Like my first 30 to 60 seconds on the stream are always going to be a little bit awkward because I've got to send the tweet, put out the Discord announcements, make sure all the volume's okay, and then you can get started. Okay, so let me pull up my little document here. Okay, beautiful. Clear the throat, take a drag on the beer. And we can get started. Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining me today for this episode. I have a lot to go through in this episode with you. You're going to hear calls from the Aussies regarding hardcore, which is great fun. You're going to hear a call with the Americans regarding hardcore, which was great fun as well. And also, you're going to hear a call in relation to, God, what was the other call? Hang on, I've forgotten. Maybe that's it. Either way, I'll come back and edit that. But guys, it's a situation where I want to just have a quick word to you once again before we really get into the episode proper. And it's a funny one because, you know, as I like to do, it's probably going to be a rather long word. It's not just going to be, hey, can I just grab you for 30 seconds to tell you about, you know, come watch me stream or something like that. I figured I'd put the monologue that I haven't done for a while in at the top of this episode. And it's just something it's been scratching away at me over the last few days, and you'll hear me touch on it for about 10 minutes at the end of the call with the Aussies, where I do bring up, hey guys, we probably should discuss at least in some way the news about Random Dungeon Finder coming to Wrath Classic. And I think that, to be honest with you, I was really proud of the boys. We did really, really well with the short amount of time that I gave, to that news. It was a very, very short time in the spotlight, and I think we covered all the points that I pretty much wanted to hit on. I'm not going to really reiterate too much that you hear in that call. I'll maybe bring one point up again very, very quickly, but I wanted to take the time now to discuss some more things that I didn't really get the time to extrapolate on as we zipped through it with the boys. This is a tough one for me because it's such an exciting time for the community, given that hardcore is right around the corner. I'm recording this at 8 p.m. on Tuesday, the 22nd of August. Hardcore launches at 8 a.m. on Friday, the 25th, my time. So, we're 2.5 days away. It's all happening. Everyone's very excited. I can't emphasize enough how excited I am for hardcore. I'm really looking forward to a fresh server launching. And like I've said a few times on the show, I'm not shy in saying that I can probably attribute about at least half of my excitement for hardcore to the fact that it's purely a fresh server, which I'm sure if we're all being honest with each other, a lot of other people might admit to the same, that, look, I love hardcore and everything, but I'm also pretty excited just for the fact that it's a fresh server. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a million pure hardcore enthusiasts out there who are like, I don't give a fuck about that. I just want hardcore, baby, and that's brilliant. I'm so glad that they've done this for you and you guys have worked so hard to get this to be made official, and you deserve all the time in the sun for the fact that your favorite game mode is now a thing. I think it's really, really cool. So what I'm trying to say is, in the midst of all this positivity and excitement, I feel like such an asshole for opening this episode with, I wouldn't quite describe it as a dour monologue, but it's something that I just really wanted to say because I know that so many of you would find it odd if I just didn't really address this in some form of length. Countdown to Classic has spent 5 years really building up a little bit of a reputation for not being shy to tackle the tough issues. And it's not just a news-based show. It is, an opinionated show as well, albeit the fact that most of the opinions aren't mine. It's ironic now that you are stuck with only my opinion on a rather important topic, and I apologize for that. But in the past, some of you have said that you've enjoyed my opinions when I do these monologues, so that's been really nice to hear and pushed me to do more of them. So that's why I'm talking to you now. But I'll stop apologizing for being a bit of a downer and just get into it. I really just need to jump into it and stop fucking around, because you're probably wondering what I've got to say. I received the news regarding RDF with a mixture of apathy, frustration, and anger. It was a very strange feeling for me because, and you'd be so right in being critical of me in this moment, because I don't currently play Wrath of the Lich King Classic. And I know there's a lot of angry gamers out there that basically live and die by the proposition that if you don't play the game, you don't get a say. To a certain extent, I do agree with that much of the time, but I did play the game and I quit for a reason, and I was incredibly invested in it not so long ago. I only stopped playing, 4 months ago? Wasn't that long ago, and I was really having a good time raiding Ulduar with my guild. And, things happened and I just got a bit turned off. Just in terms of the raid grind, and also just the way in which the game was kind of evolving and moving a bit beyond vanilla to a point that I was comfortable with. I raved about how the classes felt in Wrath, and I still feel that way. The classes drive like a fucking sports car. It's fantastic. But there was just starting to be things that at the time I probably couldn't put my finger on that were pushing me away from Wrath. And certainly the biggest factor was my server dying. So, that's going to be a big thing for anyone. And so many of you have experienced that through the life cycle of Classic, unfortunately being pushed to pay for a server transfer. And luckily for me, we got free transfers when our server died Alliance side. So I can't complain about the money, but just, the factor of moving to a new server and then your whole guild saying, hey, let's pay the money to transfer Horde. I said, no, I'm not rewarding Blizzard for basically destroying my server. And I drew a line in the sand, a moral line in the sand. A lot of people call me a fucking idiot for over, $30-$40. Why are you being a fucking pariah over $40, mate? I get that, but I just chose to do it. I put my money where my mouth is and said, I'm sorry, I'm going to be that loser. And, unfortunately, I'm going to stop playing with people I've befriended. But this is a thing for me. This is a sticking point. I don't like buying these stupid microtransactions that Blizzard prices to ridiculous points, because fucking people won't stop buying them. Well, I'm going to be the one person that doesn't buy it. Anyway, I'm rambling. I stopped playing Wrath. I don't think that should necessarily disqualify me from having an opinion on RDF, because, as you know, the show weighed in very, very heavily on the issue of RDF prior to the launch of Wrath of the Lich King Classic. I don't know if I'd be able to explain to people in the years to come how big of an issue this was. If you guys were residents of, the subreddit, if you were residents of the official forum, by the way, I've never fucking posted on the official forums, but, I occasionally stop by there, even though I really don't like it as much as the subreddit. I think it's pretty ordinary, but I stop by every now and again to just get the pulse of what people are talking about. And, particularly on the official forums, you could not go 24 hours in the lead up to Wrath for like a matter of a couple of months without people talking about RDF. And Blizzard came out reasonably early and said, hey, we're not going to be doing it. And people lost their minds. And like I say, I would struggle to explain to people in years to come the uproar, the level of uproar that was on display, the amount of vocal calls for like, please don't do this. Like, this is part of this expansion. This is something that players want. Now, I know not all players want it. Don't get all, fussy on me right now. I'm going to generalize here, guys, and I'm sorry if you're very, very anti-RD. Was I saying RFD? Look, RFD and RDF are interchangeable as far as I'm concerned. I fuck it up all the time, so just deal with it. The people who are very anti-RDF, I understand if you're going to get upset saying, hey, not all of us felt that way, but I think you also have to concede to a certain extent that the majority of feedback coming in, and I would go as far as saying the vast majority of feedback that was coming in was pro RDF as opposed to anti. I think if you go back and listen to Countdown to Classics from 9 months ago, I probably described it as 70-30 was the weight in which I felt you were hearing these two opposing opinions on the issue. Blizzard went bold and decided to ignore the calls to implement it. And obviously, as we know, we've been playing Wrath Classic for the past 11 months without one of the key features of the expansion in the game. Now, for everyone at this point who wants to say, Josh, it wasn't brought in until ICC last time, this is when they should have brought it in, it all makes sense. I'm not going to go over this point again. I will refer you to my take on this that I bring up towards the tail end of the call with the Aussies on this very podcast. If you fast forward about 2.5 hours from now, you'll hear me get rather animated as I address your point. So please, I don't want to sort of put the boot in and double up now. You'll hear me talk about that then. So I'll move on. It was really interesting to see Blizzard take this decision to not implement RDF. And at the time, we were sold the story that it simply went against the spirit of Classic to a point that they weren't comfortable making it a part of Wrath. They were really trying to take this Classic franchise on its own separate trajectory that is different from what we went through before in terms of, if you could go back, what would you change? We obviously had, for the most part, a reasonably similar. Now, guys, please, I know you all fucking lose your shit when you go like, Classic was nothing like vanilla. I get that there were changes, but like for the most part, shut the fuck up. It was pretty close reasonably to what we got, right? TBC, we started seeing some changes come in, the things that they did with the Paladin seal twisting and whatnot. But Wrath, Blizzard really went out on a limb and said, look, now it's Wrath. We're going to stretch our legs and we're going to start really mixing some things up. And that began with a bang with saying no RDF. I applaud that concept of wanting to make Classic your own thing. This Classic team wanted to have a go at trying to make some things better, and I still think that's a great mentality to have. The one issue with RDF really was that absolute cavalcade, that waterfall of feedback to the contrary, where people were saying, hey, I'm a Wrath enthusiast. This was my favorite expansion, or, I really love Wrath or whatever. Why are you removing the feature that is kind of synonymous with that expansion? It is the flavor of Wrath to have RDF. Yeah, is it a perfect system? No, there are absolutely some warts on RDF, but it was part of the expansion. If you're doing the Classic franchise, to remove something like that is like removing a limb. It's really significant, and you better fucking know what you're doing. Blizzard chose to ignore all that feedback again, boldly, and I will always applaud a game dev backing themselves and saying, we think we know what to do in this situation. We are the designers of the game. We make the rules. We think this will make for the best experience. Great, cool, no dramas. Just a bit of a weird one with the classic franchise when we've played the game before and you do get feedback asking for certain things. But anyway, what I'm getting at is I always felt at the time that if you were truly a rabid Wrath enjoyer, and this is not me, by the way, I'm not speaking about me because I'm not a rabid Wrath enjoyer. I'm very lukewarm on Wrath in general. I was pro RDF because I am pro RDF on the whole, and you guys have heard me talk on the show, controversially, I'm sorry, about my overall love for a random grouping tool in any form of MMO. I'm willing to concede that maybe transporting can be a bad thing. I am just a fan of the time saver that groups people automatically together. He's a tank, 3 DPS, and a healer. You've now been automatically placed in a group. Go forth and do whatever you want to do. I'm into that. I'm into that quality of life feature. I know many of you disagree and say it has no place in a game like Classic. I'm sorry, we'll just have to agree to disagree on that one. I think if it doesn't port you to the dungeon, there's no major skin off anyone's nose, but we can argue about that another day. Either way, it was a part of Wrath, and we're not talking about other MMOs or Classic or whatever. We're talking about Wrath. I was looking forward to this in Wrath. It's a great way to engage with the content on a regular basis. It's a great time saver. And of course, there are cons. I personally felt the pros outweighed the cons by some, slim to medium margin. When Classic was released in 2019, vanilla enjoyers got their game back. They loved it. So many of you were there. We had a wonderful time. Again, please put the semantics aside about the changes. Like, there was no chrono burn and fucking batching and blah, 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 all the shit. For the most part, we got the same experience. And we had a great time. Vanilla gamers got vanilla for the most part. Then TBC comes around. And once again, TBC enthusiasts start coming out of the woodwork. Oh, I love TBC. How good is TBC? It's my favorite expansion. And they got TBC. That's great. Look, TBC, I think the word has come back that, a lot of people thought they loved TBC and their opinions have been somewhat changed after TBC Classic, but TBC still gets a lot of love and that's wonderful. The point is, the TBC lovers got theirs. Vanilla lovers got theirs. Now we move into Wrath. My issue is that Wrath lovers didn't get Wrath. They had such a significant feature of that expansion removed. It absolutely changed the look, tone, and feel of what we've been playing for the last 11 months. Now, a lot of you are going to say, but Josh, you're getting it. They've literally said they're introducing RDF. You are getting the tool. If you're a Wrath enthusiast, enjoy the tool coming with the ICC patch. You're fucking getting it. Shut up, you whinger. To which I would say, yes, you're getting it, but you really have to take into account the time factor here where I know and I've heard a lot of people say, mate, once I down that Lich King, I'm fucking done, baby. I know some people said it and maybe didn't mean it with Classic, where they're like, mate, once I kill Kel'Thuzad, fucking job's done. I will have enjoyed my time with Classic and ride off into the sunset. And granted, a lot of people didn't do that. They were having a good time and they carried on into TBC. But I've interviewed people who are on the show who are like, mate, the trilogy's it for me. That's it. I'm done. Fucking not playing Kata. I've got no interest in Kata. I'm doing the trilogy. Mate, I want the Lich King dead. And once I drop in for that first time, I'm pretty much done. Like, I can't see myself hanging around that much longer. So then when you implement one of the biggest tools, one of the biggest features of the expansion, as I say, that became absolutely synonymous with the expansion. When people think Wrath, they think RDF. Private servers lived on post-Wrath ending in years to come. And again, they were very, very popular. Vanilla servers were exceedingly popular. Wrath servers were exceedingly popular. And that was pretty much it. You know, we all know there weren't many TBC private servers. There weren't many fucking Kata private servers. It was Wrath and Vanilla. And why did the Wrath private servers what was one of the things that they loved about Wrath? They loved fucking RDF. Yeah, there was toxicity. Yeah, there were issues with it. But for the most part, again, people drew more positives than negatives from it, and they loved engaging with the game's content on a relatively fast basis by getting in and out and getting the job done. If they wanted a game that didn't have that, they would play a vanilla private server. So Blizzard is asking us to not asking us to be thankful. That's such a douchey way to say it, but it's such a strange concept to now come in at the death knell of Wrath and say, here you go, guys. Here's that thing you were all screaming for months before we launched, and for the whole fucking time, the whole, by the time it launches, the last 12 to 13 months you've never shut the fuck up about. Here it is. Enjoy, kids. Everyone's shrugging their shoulders now and go, well, what the fuck do I care about Dungeon Finder now? Mate, I've leveled all the game's almost fucking over. The expansion's almost over. I've leveled all my fucking alts. I've got all my fucking gear. I'm about to go kill the Lich King on 3 characters. Like, what the fuck do I care about Dungeon Finder? And to the people that maybe just wanted to casually play Wrath at the outset, you lost them yonks ago. They're not coming back to Wrath. The people that found out that Wrath didn't have random Dungeon Finder when it launched, who were looking forward to that feature, they're not crawling back out of the woodwork now and going, oh, what? They've brought in RDF, time to fucking resub. Nobody is fucking saying that. So I wouldn't say it baffles me as to why they've done it now, because I would like to think I know why they've done it now. And again, we touch on that in the Aussie call, so I won't just, cover the same territory. But the one thing I will say and repeat that we covered in the Aussie call is, and look, you guys, I'm not that douchebag corporate conspiracy theorist. I really fucking hate that shit. But the one thing I'm really, really going to stress is that, and I don't think it's conspiracy, is when I say that Blizzard really had quite the conundrum with the classic franchise in terms of how the fuck do we monetize this thing that historically wasn't monetized, but we need to maximize profit in a modern era. They went out and hired Holly for a fucking reason to solve this exact problem, and she solved it so well to the point that she is now the executive producer of the World of Warcraft franchise. She was doing that fucking good of a job because of stuff like this. Because they sat down and they said, I truly believe, and I'm saying it like it's fact. I don't know that. I'm just guessing. But they've sat down and they've stared at this thing under the microscope and they've gone, shit, all right, guys, what do we do? TBC was the fucking great job, Holly. You introduced the boost. It sold like fucking hotcakes. The TBC was truly the perfect expansion for the boost. There was no pressure to bring in RDF. There's no heirlooms. There's no joyous journeys. People don't want to level. So what do? They buy the fucking boost, 1 per account. Go nuts. Great job. That's awesome. What do we do with Wrath? We've got to keep these boost sales going, baby. We've got to fucking keep them flying off the shelves. Well, the problem with Wrath is leveling alts becomes or leveling in general on your main from 70 to 80, or leveling alts becomes a lot more fun because of this fucking feature that we introduced called RDF. These fucking cunts are going to really enjoy the game. I mean, obviously we want them to enjoy the game, but they're going to really zip through leveling their alts and have a blast with this tool. What do we fucking do? Light bulb overhead from someone in the corner. How about this idea? How's about, because it's the classic crowd, and they're so gung-ho on this whole keep it classic thing and we don't like modern shit, how about we tell them that we've heard them and we're not going to introduce this tool that we feel, or we're going to say we feel, it kills socialization, and we keep the boost very appealing for a long period of time, sell as many as we can, and then we'll bring it in later on just before we drop Kata on them, because I don't think they're going to put up with Kata Classic without it, but we could sell them on putting up with Wrath Classic without it. Fucking love your idea. Do it. I'm being a little bit hyperbolic. I mean, actually not that much hyperbolic, but I'm being a bit of a douchebag and hamming it up here. But that's just the scenario that I absolutely could have seen played out. Now, I apologize to the devs who might be hearing this and losing their fucking minds, going, this is the greatest amount of conspiracy bullshit we've ever heard. Josh, how dare you insinuate that we try to remove the fun from our fucking games? We pour our heart and soul into this shit. You're a fucking idiot, blah, blah, blah. There's so many more completely reasonable reasons as to why this feature wasn't in the game. You're all classic players. You understand that we're trying to make a fucking social sandbox here. We're trying to promote people to make friends. That's the only fucking reason we left it out of the game. Stop trying to convince people there were fucking more insidious reasons behind it. If that were the reply, I hear what you're saying. I'm just going to have to respectfully not accept that. I'm like, I've joked about this, like I'm like Fox Mulder in this instance. I want to believe. I just do believe my little theory on this one. So it's a funny one where I feel like they stared at Kata and just sort of wondered what to do with it. But also, like, Kata's such a funny proposition because I feel like, I don't know, for the community at large, it's funny the way in which Wrath is being treated right now, where Wrath is very popular, don't get me wrong, but I do see a lot of opinions changing on Wrath, where it was everyone's favorite expansion of all time, and don't get me wrong, there are some of you who are like, mate, it only fucking confirmed that, but I feel like I've seen a lot of opinions online where people are like, you know what, Wrath Classic has really moved the needle for me on how I feel about Wrath. Like, not to say it not obviously, I'm not fucking saying it's a bad expansion, but I think that people's like 10 out of 10, maybe for some people has moved to like, I don't know, a 9 out of 10. I don't know, maybe it's lost a point or two. I don't know. But I feel like some gamers are realizing they thought that Kata was the breaking point of the franchise for them, but maybe they're starting to realize that it was actually Wrath. I've personally said something on the show in the past, I'm sure, about Wrath being the beginning of the end. Some people would say TBC was the beginning of the end, but we really point to Kata and go, oh, that's when the wheels fell off. But I don't know, did we lose a wheel in Wrath and not realize, and now we're picking up on it? It's an odd one. But I just wanted to talk about this point, and I really feel for Wrath fans who wanted RDF, who had it taken away from them, because I feel that Blizzard sacrificed the soul of an expansion for a retroactive cure to a quote-unquote disease that most players were comfortable with. they were trying to fix something that the majority of people didn't want fixed. And it resulted in Wrath fans being robbed of what could have been a much more engaging experience. Look, in saying that, I really, imagine if, to give you maybe these are bad analogies, you can come up with your own. I'm just trying to do this in the moment. But like, imagine if the ranking system was removed from vanilla. And I know they've just recently changed it, but imagine if you took it out altogether. Imagine if Classic 2019 launched without the ranking system. Imagine if TBC Classic launched without Arena. I know that these might not be one-to-one comparisons, like, Arena is content, and someone might be going, Josh, you're talking about content, you're doing apples and oranges here. But I'm just trying to get at examples that are synonymous to those expansions. When people think vanilla, they think the ranking system. When people think TBC, they might think Arena. When people think Wrath, they think RDF, and it got removed. And it fucking sucks, and I'm sorry for all those Wrath fans who wanted it. In saying that, to be fair, I got called out by, friends who I deserved it. Friends who called me out on the show. I loved the guys to death. I think it was Hunk and Ale, who called me out and saying, why aren't you playing Wrath? And, I was saying, because there's no RDF. I can't remember the exact wording. You'll have to go back and listen. It was a funny exchange. They caught me out, but I think I explained myself reasonably well after the supposed catch out. But I was saying, if RDF was in the game, I would dabble back in some Wrath Classic. And I didn't do this because I said that on the show. I would have done it regardless. But do you know what I did as soon as I found out the news that RDF was coming to Wrath Classic in the next patch? Even though I've sat here and said it's all too late and all that shit, and quite frankly it is, but I leveled a tune to level 12 straight away because I was like, I would love to do some casual dungeons. I really would. On the side, hardcore's going to be my focus, but RDF, I was subbed anyway, and I was saying, no one's going to re-sub because of fucking RDF. Well, I'm subbed anyway, but like, I guess it's fair to call me out on this one on a shit point before if I was saying that nobody would come back to Wrath because of RDF, and here I am literally saying I am going to come back to Wrath because of RDF, so there we go, strike one for Josh. But I wouldn't say Wrath has sucked me back in completely, but I would love to level some dungeons doing RDF with friends or randoms. Why do I keep saying RD death? RF, anyway. I'll do it. I got a druid up to level 12 so I can jump straight into RFC via RDF, and I'm sure I'll have a bit of fun with it. I might not get the character to fucking 80 or anything, but I'll do a few dungeons. That'll be great. Just makes me sad that it wasn't there earlier. It really, really does. But either way, look, it's just one of those things, unfortunately. And Tito made the great point in the Aussie call that, look, basically, if you're mildly plugged in to World of Warcraft Classic and the goings-on behind the scenes, I can't think tonight. I'm tired. If you're listening to this podcast, if you chase down content, if you visit the subreddit and all that stuff, you're one of the plugged-in people. You're in the minority, and you also know this by now. Unfortunately, you have to play WoW Classic with some modicum of desensitization to the shitty parts of the game, being, the monetization factors, the bots, the token, the boosts, the shitty customer service, all of that stuff. Unfortunately, we have signed an implied contract with Blizzard that says, we know you're not doing the greatest job of, cleaning this game up. You don't get rid of all the bots. You've introduced the token for financial reasons. You've sold the boost for financial reasons. You held off RDF for whatever fucking reason you won't tell us. We accept we accept all of these decisions that we don't necessarily agree with because we love Classic to the point that it overcomes these negatives. We have decided that, and private server players carry on about this all the time. Why the fuck are you idiots paying to play official, lol? Look at all the fucking problems with it, you fucking idiots. Imagine giving Blizzard $1 to mismanage this thing. And I'm not calling out Blizzard on the whole for mismanaging Classic. That's not what I'm doing here. I don't want to give you that impression. You know, I've said many times before, I think the Classic team does, for the most part, do a fantastic job, and that many of the decisions that are made on Classic are outside of their control. They go several pay grades above them, and I accept that. What I'm getting at is, when private servers cry that cry, my reply, and I'm sure many other players' replies, has been, I have no problem giving Blizzard a subscription fee for what I do on Classic servers, because ultimately I have made a personal cost-benefit analysis, and I have said that $20 to me for what I'm getting out of this game, warts and all, is still worth it. Because I love Classic that much, and the servers, like the connection is good. I get no lag. I know the server's going to be there. It's not going to get deleted by some fucking cunt who decides he doesn't want to do this anymore on a private server. I pay for certain things, certain positives that I'm comfortable paying for. Of course there are negatives. But I've ultimately deemed that the positives outweigh the negatives, and that's worth $20 a month to me. So fucking it is what it is, right? So what I'm getting at is this decision regarding RDF is not particularly shocking. I am desensitized to these kinds of decisions being made now after 4 years of engaging with WoW Classic. It doesn't make it less frustrating, though. I still feel comfortable venting my frustration and disappointment at this decision being made. Yes, I'm happy RDF is now coming to the game. It never should have gone down like this, and I would love to have that full and frank discussion one day later down the track with the Classic team, a discussion that I know can really never happen, about the truth behind all this and how they truly feel about it themselves. But anyway, that's RDF, okay? I want to move on and talk about hardcore. Thanks so much for listening to that, guys. Look, I don't want to bum you out, and like I said, I didn't want to get angry. I really was making a point through that whole speech not to blow a gasket or anything like that. I really wanted to tackle this with a relatively measured response, because I feel that sometimes the WoW landscape is missing a lot of that, and there's been too many fucking things happening. Pardon me as I do a massive burp. There's been too many fucking things happening outside of WoW in just the gamer space in general, invoking that hyperbolic rage bait gamer that I fucking hate. So I really wanted for once just to address something that, even though I'm frustrated about it, with a semblance of level-headedness, I guess. So look, you either agree or disagree with me. I'm sure by now you guys come to the show not necessarily because you agree with me on everything, but you enjoy being given food for thought. And I hope that I've done that there with the RDF issue. But we'll move on now because I want to get positive. Guys, hardcore is coming. Like I said, I am very excited. I have been critical of the way in which hardcore is being rolled out. I'm not going to get bogged down in that, because again, my excitement outweighs my criticisms over the choice of the rollout. I am fucking pumped. I've been practicing. I want to tell you a bit about my plans for hardcore. Look, guys, I'm going to stream. The plan is to stream every second of my first character. It's going to be a warrior. It's going to be a dwarf warrior rolling with the Casmodan infantry, Juno's great all dwarf guild. I'm also going to have my second character, if the warrior dies, go over to another great guild being Pushing Up Peace Bloom that you'll hear all about in later on in this podcast. Please, guys, let me make one. I don't feel like I ever really ask anything of you guys. I can't think of any one specific example where I've really, really asked for something for myself from you in the 5 years that I've been doing, the 5.5 years now that I've been doing this podcast. But if I can break the seal on that and really say this in all honesty, I feel like a little bit of a douchebag saying this, but like I said, because I've never asked for anything before, I'm more than okay with it. Guys, please look for me on YouTube streaming this stuff. I haven't been much of a streamer over the years, but I'm going to be streaming this. You see me streaming more lately on YouTube, and I know a lot of you are going to say, Josh, why the fuck? You've got like heaps of followers on Twitch. Why are you walking away from Twitch? I've grown rather frustrated with Twitch, just to the point that, yeah, you get the audience, and don't get me wrong, people, I'm not going to be that douchebag being like, oh, fucking, nobody watches me on Twitch. No, fucking, you get, a crowd of 50 to 60 people, concurrent viewers tuning in. There are a million people that would kill for that kind of crowd. I fucking respect that. It's not that I'm leaving Twitch. I'm streaming to like far fewer people on YouTube. It's not a crowd size thing, but like, I've just grown frustrated with Twitch over the years, and I think it's a fucking weird platform. I'm not that into it. I much prefer what YouTube does, and like, quite frankly as well, another factor is like, nothing I've done over the years has been for money, but like, I made more in tips on YouTube over the last 3 weeks than I did in subs on Twitch over the last 6 months. And it was only like $35. Like, I think I got a $20 tip, a $10 tip, and a $5 tip over the last 3 weeks. And I was like, wow, I think I've like that's easily more than the subs I've gotten on Twitch over the last 6 months. So, I mean, that was nice to see. Again, it buys me a fucking, half a case of beer. So that's great. But like, I will be streaming every second of the life cycle of my warrior on YouTube. Just search YouTube for I think my YouTube username is something fucking stupid, like Countdown 3004. Just search YouTube for Countdown WoW Classic. Keep an eye out. Can you check me out on launch day? Well, actually, most of you will be asleep, but over launch weekend, keep an eye out for me. It would be lovely for you to drop in and say hello. I'd love to say hello to you. And if you can't catch me live, check out the VODs there. And that's the one thing I love about YouTube is the VODs are just there in perpetuity. I don't have to fucking go out of my way and do all the work to upload something to another platform. It's not going to get deleted after 2 weeks. It's just fucking there. And I love that. It's so good on YouTube. I'm basically starting, I guess, from the bottom again. I'd started streaming on YouTube a couple of months ago to like single digit viewers. Now we're getting sort of between, 15 to 20 of you checking me out when I go live. And it's been really nice. Anyway, I'm going to stop shilling the YouTube. But just please, 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 if I ask one thing, please come check out my stream on YouTube. It'd be really fun. We're having a great time. I promise I'll be mildly entertaining, and we'll see if my warrior makes it anywhere. Anyway, moving on from that. What are my actual plans? Well, it's sad that I'm not going to really have the time for multiple turns. Again, we're all getting older. We're all working harder. Some of you having kids and all that. Like, I don't have kids, but, I'm working really hard these days. And it's just very tough to find the time for multiple turns. So I'm doing the warrior. I'm focusing that. I'll have an ult, but I just won't get to play it that much. But look, if the warrior drops, here's my plan in terms of choice. Here's my hierarchy of classes in hardcore. Don't get me wrong, it's me, so everything's subject to change like tomorrow. But as of right now, if these classes drop, this will be the order in which I play them. Warrior, Druid, Rogue, Hunter, Priest, Mage, Paladin, Warlock. No Shaman because I'm not playing Horde. I'll play Alliance the whole time. Guys, if you want to play with me, roll an Alliance, roll on the West Coast server, and you'll find us. It'll be all good. It is really interesting to see how Alliance-heavy hardcore is is propping up to be from the surveys that have come through. It's not a shock. Don't get me wrong. It's not a fucking shock at all. Everyone wants those paladin buffs. Everyone thinks they're going to be raiding, so give me fucking salve while I dungeon and level. Give me all the buffs while I raid. I get it. But it will be a bit sad if there's kind of like a very, very small horde population. I think should be okay. We'll see. But I'm also using it as a bit of a testing ground for SOM 2. So the classes that I just read out to you, these are the classes that I have the most interest in playing in SOM 2. I want to see what it's like to tank. I've never tanked in vanilla before. That's why I'm going like warrior and druid. I want to also have the flexibility to heal on the druid. I want to see what it's like leveling as a rogue and a hunter and DPSing in dungeons when I've just not really done that before. But also, like, it's something where I just want to have fun. I really just want to have fun, quite frankly. I went on a bit of a rant about the meta in the call with the Aussies. And like I say, look, fuck, guys, if following the meta floats your boat, then obviously always do what floats your boat. But personally, it doesn't float mine. I play for fun. I don't play to be the best. And so when I play warrior, I do weird things like, I rend post level 35. Sorry, warriors. I demo shout at the start of a fight instead of dropping asunder armor. Sorry, warriors. I just don't fucking care. I want to hit the buttons that feel good. I want to do the things that make me survive. I'm just going to have fun with it, and it's going to be fucking wild, and I'm looking forward to it. The one thing I'm really looking forward to the most is actually, ironically for me, the social side of things. And if I'm sort of doing a bit of a WoW confessional right now, I guess I would call it a half regret, the way in which I've played the game over the last 4 years. And it's a very large regret that whilst I've made friends with so many of you through the podcast, and I've often said, maybe off podcast, but with friends when I'm speaking with them or having a beer, I've said, like, look, I understand that parasocial relationships can be problematic when it comes to streamers and their crowd, but I honestly, and a lot of you might accuse me of talking complete shit and being a fuckwit and a liar for saying this, but I'm not lying when I say this. When I say I feel like I have not formed parasocial relationships with the listeners of my show. I feel like I've formed social relationships with the listeners of my show because I've genuinely become friends with so many of you, and it's been such a delight to get to know you personally, to get to know, the fucking names of your wives, of your kids, of your dogs. I've met so many of you in person, both domestically and internationally. You guys have felt comfortable reaching out to me at any time via DMs, and, fuck, those of you who have DM'd me randomly and not talked to me before know that I get back to you pretty fucking quickly, and I'm very accessible, and it's been very important for me to make it known that, like, I am just some dude. I'm not a fucking streamer. I'm not some fucking douchebag famous content creator. I'm just a fucking guy playing World of Warcraft who happens to do a podcast that I enjoy on the side. And I've always made it a point to stress that to people, to be accessible, to let you know that you can fucking message me anytime as you would any other fucking player. And I've developed these social relationships with people, but I've not done it right by them, by then in turn playing the game with them, which is so bizarre because I've treated this game as a single player experience just for far too fucking long, and it's weird and it's wonky, and a lot of you could and have justifiably probably queried me or maybe even said some not nice things behind closed doors that I fully deserve. Like, Josh is a fucking weirdo. Why doesn't he play with the guild, like the Countdown Guild? This fucking guild formed like as a result of his show. They named themselves after his show, and the fucking cunt doesn't play with them. Why doesn't he play with fucking, Hunk more? Why doesn't he play with Tito more and Jay and all these great people? He's made all these great friends, but he doesn't play the fucking game with them. What a weirdo. it's embarrassing for me and it's shameful. And I've started to feel really bad recently about it, where it didn't bother me before because I'm like, hey man, I'm a fucking lone wolf, baby. I march to the beat of my own drum. I don't fucking dungeon as I level in WoW. I fucking just do my own thing. I don't owe anything to anyone. It's stupid. It's dumb. I'm over it. It's lame. And I'm man enough to admit I've probably done it wrong. Look, there's always going to be time for solo gameplay in WoW, but I've played the game so differently over the years to all of you. It's time to make a change, and I want to, really engage with group content in hardcore World of Warcraft. Even if it means my death, I have to put myself out there and, make myself available to my friends, quite frankly, and I think I'll enjoy the game more. Sorry, not to get too deep and heavy on you. It's just something I've been wanting to get off my chest. But yeah, I really think that hardcore is going to be amazing, at least for a few months, because it's going to give us that rare global PvE experience. And I was really thinking about this today, going like, PvP servers are so popular amongst classic fans. And fuck, don't get me wrong, I'm a PvP shill as well. I love my world PvP. You guys have seen my bloodlust on stream and everything. I love to chase a fight and all of that stuff. But, I'm very aware of the toxicity that comes with PvP servers. And that's something that you have to sort of unfortunately become accustomed to when you roll on that experience. So it's so refreshing and unique to me to have the rare instance of, we're not getting many servers with hardcore, and I quite frankly think there is going to be a North American mega server. It's going to be the rare PvE experience where I'm not going to say it's going to be devoid of toxicity. Don't get me wrong, the boys and I discussed this in the Aussie call. There will be griefers, there will be anger, there will be moments. But for the most part, removing the players all trying to gank each other really will create this relatively positive collective struggle where I truly think people will be helping each other in the open world. Oh, mate, don't die. I'll heal you. Oh, I'll run in and fucking grab that mob for you. Now, everyone says, when you help people, that's how you die. But I still think we'll still see people trying. I really, truly do. And it's something that could bring out, we all talk about the death clips, but I want to see the fucking wholesome clips. As I'm being told by Anthony that I have way too much faith in WoW players. I know what you mean, and please believe me, Anthony. I have seen everything over the last few years in terms of personalities, and I'm very in tune with what the average WoW player is like. Don't get me wrong. But I've seen the good side too. And I just think that everyone doing group content together, everyone engaging with dungeons, wanting to stay alive, for the most part watching each other's back. It's going to be really fun to see, and it's if anything, it's going to be unique. This has never been done before. I'm dying to see, no pun intended, I'm dying to see how it all rolls out. And more importantly, I just want all of you to have fun. I want you to have a fucking blast. Please look after yourselves, but if you want to have the fun where you do the crazy pull, where there's a 1% chance that you're going to make it, fucking do it. If that's how you have fun, do it. I absolutely applaud you for that. Play it safe, play it risky, do whatever. We don't get many, launches. And fuck. This is our what? This is our fifth one in the last 4 years. Classic, TVC, Wrath, SOM, and now Hardcore. I'm really excited for this launch. I'm more excited for this launch than I was for TBC, than I was for Wrath, than I was for SOM. I'm arguably, weirdly, more excited for this than I was for Classic because I was so fucking busy when Classic rolled out. I probably didn't have the time to appreciate it as much as I should have. And also I know so much more about the game now than I did 4 years ago that I feel like I'm enjoying it more than ever. I'm watching more WoW content than I ever have in my fucking life. I must drive my wife fucking insane. I'm watching like 2 to 3 hours of fucking WoW videos a day. I'm watching the same fucking videos 10 fucking times. And I'm loving it. And I love all of you. And I just want to say thank you for still being here. I get so many messages from so many of you saying that, you've been with the show for so long. And like I said, here we are. It's 5.5 fucking years later. I'm still talking to you. You're still listening. Thank you so much for still sticking with me and for sticking with the game. And look, I'll still be here as long as we're having fun. You know what I mean? So look, guys, that's been a rather extended monologue. I wouldn't call it a rant. We almost went an hour. Please enjoy the rest of the show. Please check out my stream, like I said, on YouTube. But more importantly, enjoy the next, roughly, I think we've got almost 3 hours of content for you after this. So an hour of this monologue, an hour and 40 minutes with the Aussies, about 45 to 50 minutes with the Americans. So look, if you're listening to this during launch, have fun. If you're listening to it as hype pre-launch, enjoy. I love you all. I'll talk to you later. Fuck, guys. We made it. What do you reckon? I'm going to bed. Oh, thanks, Juno. Thanks, guys. Sorry. I wasn't really, I feel bad. I wasn't really bringing you guys into that one. I really wanted to just do the monologue side of things. So let me do my shout outs now. Like, you're all fucking legends. Z-Man, Pube Sniffer, Skill Unit, Nugash, Ehan, Mark, Anthony, Sambino, Rock. What's going on, guys? Rob, how you going, mate? You're all fucking legends. There's all so many familiar faces being here and listening along. Lost, how are you, mate? What's going on? I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks, guys. Look, like I said, you don't have to fucking agree with what I say. I expect many of you will disagree with many of my points, but the more important part is we've got to be fucking adults about it. We've got to be mature about it. It's about listening to other people's opinions, reflecting on them, and then, engaging in a conversation. I'm very, very fucking hyped for hardcore. I'm going to go watch some hardcore videos in bed now. I can't wait to get this warrior started. I hope you guys have all got your classes ready to go, or maybe you're just going to fucking pick on the day. I know the name I'm taking. I know what race I'm picking. I know I've got a guild. I know what class I'm rolling. I'm all fucking set. It's going to be fantastic. I just, 3 more sleeps, man, and then we're doing it. Guys, I'll stream here on this time in 3 days. On Friday night, you'll find me hanging with Juno, hanging with Hunk, hanging with all your familiar voices. We'll be having a beer and getting up, hopefully, through that 1 to 10 experience. You'll see me playing all fucking weekend as well. My wife is away. I'm going to play a fucking shitload of fucking hardcore. Worst luck in the world. My fucking... I'm like my fucking mates. One of my mates is having his fucking birthday party this weekend, and a shitload of my mates are flying up from Sydney for it. So I fucking got to show face for that. I'm spewing. And my work is having like a party that I've got to go to. So I've got to show face at that. I'm like, how could they pick fucking hardcore launch weekend? My God. So the Saturday night, I'm kind of out of commission, which is annoying, but I'll be around all Saturday other than that, and all Sunday. But yeah, Lost has got it. Play for fun. Don't min-max. Min-maxing is overrated. But yeah, guys, I'll speak to you all later. Thanks so much for tuning in. Guys, chat away in the Discord. I'll be around. See you all back here on Friday. Love you all. Bye-sies.